My lesson is titled today, The Finger of God Wrote. I'm thinking here that the Bible says that the finger of God wrote, and so we get a book with what we're told has 613 commandments. It seems a little bit odd to me that a book was given by God so late after thousands and thousands and maybe even millions of people had died before that. God then seems a little bit unfair right there because the people before that did not get this book that you cannot live by. This makes no sense to me. If we have the book and we say, live by the book, but if you can't, then come as close to it or make your best effort if you're not going to live by the book. Make your best effort without the book. But if you choose to live by the book, then go by it as completely as you can. But instead of that, we're told that once a book has been given, you cannot live without the book. So God gives the book late when Moses comes on the scene and has this mountaintop experience. But many people had died before that who were not able to live by the book because they didn't have it. And if the finger of God is writing, that means it is very, very important that we read what's in the book and that we live by it. But He does not really care. It's worse than someone who is working in a factory with a machine that can take off their hands or probably even kill them and injure others, and the person doesn't get the manual to operate the machine properly until a number of people died from how he's trying to use the machine. It is worse than that. And then after many, many people die, then the person is given the manual on how to operate the machine. So nobody really knows properly how to live on earth until maybe thousands of years, a couple thousand years passed, and then Moses gets a book and now we know how to live on earth. So all these people before, not only did they fail to live properly on the earth, but they have been robbed of the proper way to finding their way to the Creator. They could not. But the book gets messy because the people who believe in the book, like they taught me, had the laws before. Well, where were these laws? Why was it given at Sinai? You see, the experts at the Torah are going to give some fanciful explanations about Sinai. The fact is that the people who teach the Torah will tell you that Sinai was extremely important with the giving of the book, and that you just have to go by it. It is very strange to me that they have all kinds of special ways to explain why the book was needed at Sinai and after, but somehow the people had the laws that they were living by. So if people were naturally able to live by the laws, why was Sinai necessary? Why? Before they got the book at Sinai, they already knew they should even do sacrifices, so that Moses said unto Pharaoh, let us go so we may go sacrifice to our God. So they even knew how to perform sacrificial duties. Priests knew just what to do. The people knew how to live. What was the purpose of the finger of God moving on tablets of stone at Sinai? This is a messy situation. But think for a moment that if the book is that important, then you have to read from the book. And Israel made a big to-do with his prophets about reading from the book, knowing the book of the law, having it in your heart and rehearsing it. Even the king had to have his own copy and he had to know the book. So then all the other kings and the patriarchs, who was like their own kind of king, over their small group, they were like a chieftain or so, they didn't have this book. Yet we're told the book was very necessary. Now, why would God give a book at Sinai that had to be read? So that even in King Josiah's time, when they found the book of the law, they had to go and make corrections because it had to be exact, like correct, according to the other book that they found. And they're like, oh, we've been living by the wrong stuff all along. This is the real book, the real copy that we found here. So things had to be corrected. Now, that just shows that you must go by the quote-unquote letter of the law, like the New Testament puts it. But how can you be expecting, as God, everybody to read from this book and know it? When, like I pointed out in other recordings that many have taught, that most people couldn't read and write in ancient Israel. In fact, even after that, a lot of kings on earth still couldn't read and write. It was a specialized thing. And even after Jesus died, some kings still could not read and write, were not educated like that. So when you look at the average person, what would they have been doing with this book of the law? What we would have then is a situation that has produced exactly the kind of world that we have, or the religious world that we have, where people running the book are able to take control of other people, abuse other people religiously, because they know something about the book. And you just have to believe them. And so they can tell you anything. The book is used to control and to dominate, to trick people, to deceive people. This is not a smart book. It is not a smart God that would set this up. That's why I've told you before, the Creator did not write this book. Yahweh may have, because we know he's a deceiver. And, my name series, now that I've understood the trick in religion, which is the same trick in Judaism and the same trick in the Hebrew Israelite movement and the same trick in the Christian religion, the same trick in Hinduism, the same trick in all the other religions of the earth, that the Creator did not give any religion, then every holy book and every religion, including that which is Hebrew Israelite and that which is the Torah, this was all a big trick. A man wrote this book, the Torah. And so then this just would not be very smart. It is used to deceive people. Because think of it, if in Josiah's time and pretty much all throughout anyway, Israel had to just go by the book. And they would judge things by what is written in the book. Then who was judging people in Enoch's time, in Noah's time, in Abraham's time, in the time of the patriarchs? Who judged them when there was no book? So what we find then is, if there was no book, judgment could have been made without a book of the law, without a book of the Torah. So Torah is not necessary for people to have judgment on earth, and it is not necessary for people to live properly on earth. Because there was a book to tell them how to live properly once a book was given, but there was no such book to judge them for not living right before the book was given. Yet people were somehow put to death or penalized in some way because they transgressed the law of the Lord. before the book was given. So you say, well, that's it. People needed a book because they were transgressing. I guess you're going to tell me it's the oral law that they should have been living by. But if the oral law wasn't given till Sinai, how were they expected to live by it before Sinai? But even if you say that they were sinning too much so they needed the book given at Sinai, then didn't God know about this before? To have caused so many people to have been penalized at the hands of other people or killed, put to death because they didn't have a book. In addition to that, if people did not have a book prior to Sinai and they were being put to death and judgment passed on them and so on when there was no book, that means that people were expected to live from the heart because there was no book. So if you cannot live right by what is in your heart, how can you live right by what is in a book when a book printed by man is inferior to what should be encoded in the heart? Somebody tell me, please. Because the Spirit entered into man and he blew breath into man and man became a living soul. And a good Torah teacher will tell you with all kinds of fancy precepts that means the law was breathed into the man. So the man got the actual law written on the pages of his heart. But a better system, which is a book made from paper as we've got it today, is supposed to be more weighty, more significant than the Torah that was breathed into the man's DNA. So something is inside your DNA and it cannot make you live right. But a book that was sometimes written wrong by the scribes and they had to start all over if they made one single mistake, that book, you're expected to live by it and call yourself the children of Israel. This is a big fake. You see, I have cracked in my own life through the shell of deception that does not allow many people to see that religion is a trick, even the Torah of the Lord God of the Hebrews. This is a very, very big trick. And once I realized it, I was just going to just walk away from it. But I have to come back and share it so that other people who are seeking will get to hear that the mighty Torah has been smashed repeatedly by many people and continues to be smashed, continues to be broken to pieces by people who can see through it. And even my name of God seers, once I realized that this is all a big trick, I was just going to get rid of it. But you know what? I'm going to throw up those lessons online now. Still, just to make sure you guys hear what I was thinking when I thought the book was true, because it will still help to break the Torah as far as the name part is concerned. Now God, the wise God, you tell me he made the earth and everything we see. And he gives a book for people to live by. You must live by the book. You are Israel. But if you are living by the book that you must read, then what about all the people who were stuck in some very remote places on earth, deserted lands, deserted towns, deserted cities, stuck in some forests or swampy areas and so on, and they just stayed there for hundreds of years or thousands of years? They never made contact with anybody named Israel. And maybe some of the Israelites as well weren't present there, because the scripture says, I give this law not just to you, this covenant, who are here today, but to all the others who are not here today. So when Israelites are away from the book, what do they live by? And when, like I said, people are in other places, how can they live by the book that they've never gotten, never received? There's nobody to interpret it for them, to teach them. And when those people are living in areas where their communication skills are just limited. Their vocabulary is very limited. So even if you hand the book to them, they cannot know it. They cannot read it. People who don't speak Hebrew, people who at the time did not speak Paleo Hebrew. Come on now. If you were to give them the book from Moses at the time, how would they have been able to live by that book? They would have just put the book down. Because not everybody named Israel was right there at the time. And later on, going up through the kings, we know even with Solomon, Israelites were traveling and leaving and not even coming back. Going to other parts of the world, we hear, even over into the Americas. This is messy. This is very messy. And so, even when you look at this Hebrew, when he gives this message in the supposed Paleo Hebrew, the people who are not there but are seeking to know the God of Israel, who can't understand Paleo Hebrew because they live far away and they don't speak that, and they don't read that, what in the world is the kind of hope that they have in knowing the laws of the Lord God of Israel? The book has no meaning to them. If Israel can go into one captivity and just lose their language so fast, how much more is it that the people who are not even there are going to be able to understand the book and they don't even know to read the language, to read the script? This is a serious problem. This is a flaw from the Torah and the God of Israel. So man was somehow expected to be living before Moses came on the scene by some law that was in his heart, because he blew into man the Torah. He spirited man with the Torah, with the code of living. But then a substandard way of getting the laws into man was given by the finger of God writing this law for Moses. So man couldn't live by the spirit of the law, but now he's going to live by the law of God because he has a book to read. When our world knows that books are telling a lot of truths but are often also used to deceive, but something that's in the heart just remains written in the heart. You have to go through time and time again of tricking someone of something that's deeply in their heart, even to the point of slaughtering a people group and then growing up the children that are left with the lies over many years until the children grow up to accepting and learning a new way of living according to the lie. But a book, you can just write it and somebody reads it and immediately they believe the lie. So books can be used as a quicker way to deceive, but taking truth out of somebody's heart, now that can often take longer. So a book being given is a substandard way of the wise God of Israel to get his truth across, when truth was already breathed into man, and then he placed the man in the garden that he made. See this? This God isn't smart. So man is given this code or this law inside of him, and then it gets written over by a book that's printed for him or written by God or by Moses. But then the same book actually goes on to say that you're basically going to get the law inside your heart. So now God can't make up his mind. I put the law in your heart, I take it away, I give you a substandard writing, which is the book written with ink, and then I'm going to go back and put the same laws in your heart. So God can't make up his mind. This Yahweh God, he doesn't quite know how to do his stuff. He keeps going back and forth. And so Jeremiah 31 verse 34 here says, "And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord, For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. You see that? Now, it seems that what the prophet is saying is that when this happens, where the law is going to be in your heart and not in a book, is that at that time, the grand, great, mighty, well celebrated book of the law with 613 will be a thing of the past. You might still have some copies of it, but it will be a thing of the past, because man will learn to do what is right by what is in his heart. So as far as Jeremiah is concerned, it seems he's saying the city, as one commentary put it, the city will be a thing of the past, the state will be a thing of the past, or not that it's a thing of the past, but it can all go compared to what's written in the heart. It doesn't carry as much weight as what is in the heart. The city can be put out of the way. The state of Israel can be put out of the way. The prophet, the priest, the king can take a back seat and be put out of the way to the law that's written on the heart. The temple can all go because, like the rituals of the sacrifices and so on, the circumcision, it can all go. Because man will learn to live right and do right by what is written inside his heart. No ritual, no sacrifice, no circumcision, no temple, no prophet, no priest, no king can take precedence over man doing right based on what is in his heart. The Creator said, or who you're calling the God of Israel, Yahweh, is saying, I'm going to put my law in the heart. But what about the grand glorious book that you should never do without? Why am I going to spend time reading from the book when I got it in my heart? Because the purpose of reading the book all these thousands of years was to get the stuff in our heart. That's what the Torah teacher taught us from even when I was a child in the Christian church. That's how they were teaching it. And I left the Christian church to come over into Israelite Torah understanding and hearing them still teaching it. That the Torah teachers are saying that the book was given so that Israel would have the law to follow because they weren't living right from their heart. So the book was there to remind them. They had to wear stuff on their clothes and their head and so on, whatever, in their garments, to remind them of what should have been in the heart. This is complete garbage. The Creator never gave any such book to remind you of what should be in the heart. The mind can only be reminded of what should be in the heart when the mind thinks of what is in the heart and begin to look past what is in a book, begin to look past what is in the newspaper, begin to look past what is on the news, begin to look past what you are taught in just every other way. Because once the mind, once the eyes, once the body begins to feel and sense and look and see the sun, the stars, the trees, nature, feel the air and so on, the heart begins to read from what is encoded inside by interacting with what is inside the heart and what has been placed in nature, in creation. The heart does not need a book. This God, Yahweh, is not smart. The book is there to deceive. So think now that you've got some uncontacted tribe that's living peaceful, they're healthy, teeth are healthy, their hair is healthy, their skin is healthy, their eyes can see very well, and all the rest of it. They're just healthy. And all of a sudden, while they're not living with a book, they're not living doing all these ceremonial stuff, They're just living in their heart. They're happy with what the Creator has given to them, this life. They're thriving in their little groups, communities, or tribes, and they're fine. They don't need to go to church or the Sabbath meeting. But one day some people show up with a book and tells them they need to keep some laws, or they need to get saved, they need to get baptized, or they need to whatever. And these people don't really want it, and so it was forced on them. They must take the book, they must read, they must believe it. They can't read, they got to learn to figure it out. You teach them to get them started. These people don't really want it, and they realize that slowly over time they're being pushed around a little bit and so on. Next thing you know, they start being slaughtered and killed. So they start to fight back, because they must take the book. In other words, they must take the rule of law which is coming from the new people, because the book is just the introduction of new rule, of new domination of mind and body. And you must take the book is the message that they're getting in their senses. You must take the book or you must be slaughtered. You must take the book and be dominated. You must take the book. You see, they might not see this immediately, but a couple hundred years later, like maybe 300-400 years later, their descendants later on after them, 200 years later, 100 years later, will understand that the message that was really being said at the start was, you must take the book, you must take the religion, you must take the teaching, you must take the new way of life, or you will be slaughtered, you will be killed, you will be destroyed, you will be taken over. You must become like us. When before that, they didn't have to become like anybody. They could just live on their own, by themselves, happy as ever. But a book has now complicated their lives and destroyed them. Anytime you see a book coming that should change your life radically from how it was before, in an unnatural way, run from that book. The Creator did not write any book for anybody or give anybody any book upon any mountain or in a field or anywhere. The Creator does not write books. Mankind writes books. And when it comes to religious books, man writes books. Maybe long time ago there were books written just as an exercise in whatever, whoever knows, hiding things that they're researching as they work on it and so on. But later on, they got beside themselves and they started to use it to dominate people. It is evil to do that. It's not wrong to write a book, but it's evil to use a book to destroy the minds of people. And what I've understood since leaving the Christian church and coming into this shamefully disappointing Hebrew Israelite community, which is a very big disappointment, is that the way it operates makes fools out of black people. Because something that has been on my mind lately is that this Hebrew Israelite stuff is just another way to not get you to see that, as I have been looking into lately, Africa and Africans are being hit again one more time. They change your name, all the names. I saw one long list of names one time that they give black people, and I can't even remember all those stuff, but they call you coons. They call, now we're the niggers, now we are, you know all the little terms they use, right, for black people. They change your title every now and then. You're black, you're African American, everything. Now they're changing your title again. Now you are a Hebrew Israelite. And sometimes you hear black Hebrew Israelite. Can't you see what is happening? That this is just another. You were Indian one time, then now you're this, you're that. Can't you see that Hebrew Israelite movement is just another movement to change your name again, so that you do not understand that the land that you live in was yours before the colonizers came. As far as I've found so far, the African from ancient times came to North and South America, all over the Americas actually. And so when they found you in America, but now they put up a border here and there, you're not understanding that Hebrew Israelite is a way to get you to name yourself and to tie yourself to a land called Israel, a little strip of land called Israel, that they have somehow mysteriously separated from the rest of Africa that it is a part of, is just a way to get you to not reassociate yourself to Africa and to America that you own from your ancients coming here before anybody else ever did. And I'm bringing out some of that information slowly in other videos, even though I'm one of the newest of us to start to look into this information. Many have brought it out before, that they found the Negro here in America when they came. So basically, Hebrew Israelite is just a way for you to not even associate with Africa anymore, to let you not see that something is going on with you. It's separating you from your ancient people, from who your descendants came and traveled over to this part of the earth and all over the earth. Hebrew Israelite is just another religious trick to get black people, as a political move, to get black people to take on another name, another identity, so that they do not understand that they are the original African. You see that? So you don't understand that. I'll see you in the next video. Because Hebrew Israelite came way too late in the game. Way too late. You are the children of the so-called Adam. Although it doesn't seem to me like Adam was a single person and was the actual name of that guy or those people, I should say. But still, there's a trick there. They're telling you you're an Israelite, so you don't understand you're an African, so you don't understand you are the original North American. You are the original American. That's the trick. Tell them they're everybody else. All along, they never cared to let you know, but you notice that in recent times, the past 100 or 200 years, there's this mad push to make sure black people know that they are the chosen Hebrew Israelite people of God. Why is it anybody on earth is so concerned with letting you know that, unless there is a trick somewhere there? Just when Africa is coming up more and more, like Africa is looking at standing up once again. Still going to take some time, but you understand that? Let's separate the Africans in this part of the world and in that other part of the world, so from the land of Africa itself. Let's separate them from the original Africa that sent out its people as Nubians, Egyptians, Cushites, to populate the other parts of the earth. Let's separate them. Now that they populated it so long ago, they've even forgotten that their forefathers sent them, traveled here and came and had their children here. Let's separate them from that knowledge so they do not know they, in their DNA, in their lineage left Africa a long time ago and traveled all over. Let's separate them from the knowledge of that and tell them they are different people. They are Hebrew Israelite. See you next time, like I said.